As Singapore celebrates Total Defence Day today, one Singaporean knows very well what it's like to be alive in the midst of conflict, the Russia-Ukraine war.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to go back into the bunker and I had to cut this interview for now. And everyone is worried.
A Singaporean, Ix Shen, had given CNA first-hand accounts almost a year ago now of how the invasion intensified in Kyiv, where he and his Ukrainian wife had been living.
Well, Ix joins us live in studio tonight to share more about his experiences as he returns to Singapore for a few months. Ix, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Pleasure to have you with us. It's been quite a crazy couple of years for you. We were just chatting, before we came on.
Yes.
Let's talk about this notion of national resilience, right? We've been talking about this quite a little bit. It's a real buzzword now. You've actually experienced it firsthand as well while you were in Ukraine.
Nice.
And when we apply that concept back to Singapore, right? How do you figure this is going to be achieved? Is it something that's quite difficult to sort of realize?
Okay. For me, I come from quite extreme circumstances. During that moment, I still remember very clearly. We just had the break from the curfew. Everyone was rushing to the supermarket to stock on our supplies, right? Everyone is worried that supplies will run out. So I was queuing up and there were a lot of people at the vegetable weighing station and fruits and vegetables. So the queue was very long and everybody was panicking, hoping, can we just expedite this faster so we can weigh our fruits or vegetables and move on and grab other stuff. And then along came 3 Ukrainian soldiers, with the rifles slung on their shoulders, pushing a shopping trolley with their own supplies and things like this. And then politely they asked the lady in the front, he said, "Excuse me, ma'am, we need to rush back to our mission. Is it possible that we cut the queue and weigh what we need to weigh?" And the lady just placed back her lettuce and grabbed the soldiers' fruits, which means, of course. Now, at that moment, all the Ukrainians around me shouted, "Slava Ukraine!" And then the soldiers responded, "Heroim Slava." I witnessed for myself what resilience is like. And I really hope that if that moment ever comes for us to experience something like that, we can find that strength and that willingness inside us to unite as one, which we do not want to be tested, but I like to believe that it's there.
An intense situation in Ukraine for you and for your family, Ix. You are Singapore-born and bred. You served national service. Did your life in Singapore before, did it prepare you at all for what you went through in Ukraine?
In some ways it did. Actually, I had carried weapon with live ammunition and took up the duty to protect in Singapore before. Yeah, that was back during the 9/11 days when we had a security threat. So part of my reservists, we had a live deployment to protect key installation in Singapore. So when we need to respond to our duty, we didn't hesitate. Of course, we whine and we curse about it, but no one backed out from the call of duty. And from that experience, I knew it's like when you really need to protect what you hold dear to yourself, everything else becomes second place. Because you have a role to do and you step up to it.
You need to step up.
Yeah. I think it's quite interesting that you bring that up because obviously as a Singaporean, people would say, well, there is some incentive for you to step up and defend your country. You stepped up and went over to Ukraine, or you were there already, and you contributed to humanitarian causes there when you didn't have to. What was that about? What went through your mind at that time?
In some ways, actually, I would correct that. I'll say that I felt I had to. When we decided to evacuate from Ukraine, we received help from strangers along our entire route. People that we never know, people that we might know, or people that have been introduced to us. Everybody help us with no reservation. And now that we have safely evacuated, you know that there are help that we can contribute back. Is to answer your question is you have to. You have to.
Ix, you're safe here in Singapore now, and you're here for a few months, if I understand correctly. But you had a life in Ukraine. You have probably still have friends there,
Yes.
and family members as well, no doubt. What does it feel like? We're nearly 1 year now into this war.
It feels. It is a very negative situation to be in, but we need to motivate ourselves to treat it positively, to show the world that that the Ukrainians are strong, but they need help, and this is how everyone rally around each other to continue this struggle.
Yeah, it's been almost a year now since the war began. You've now come back. You'll be here for a couple of months. That must be quite jarring to the system, isn't it? I mean, from there, being in the kind of situation, coming back to Singapore, going through Changi Airport. I mean, the moment you touch down, you already know, this is something else completely. What's it like, navigating two different scenarios, vastly different scenarios?
To phrase it properly, I was mentally prepared that Singapore is a different environment, right? Everyone is a lot more peaceful, and the context of war is not on everybody's shoulder. So this was I was prepared for it, and I can't expect people to jump into this preparation state, even though today is Total Defense Day. So I would just use this opportunity as a Total Defense Day to help Singaporeans to understand the importance of preparedness, right? And this is the only bridge that I can use. And I wouldn't say it's very drastic. It's like I'm not going to tell everyone that war is very dangerous and things like that, because everyone can think and feel for themselves. But what I need to emphasize is preparedness is just as important as being strong and being positive.
It's kind of interesting that we went back to the beginning again, and this emphasis on collective resilience and national resilience, being brought up again. Ix, thank you very much for joining us this evening in our studio. Very enlightening message there. We've been speaking there with Ix Shen, a Singapore Ukraine resident.